Hi, it's Andy.
Hi, it's Dave.
Hi, it's Kirk.
Okay, so before we kick into today's reaction video, just a quick couple of ideas or ground rules for the channel. So, of course, we do not pause or talk during our videos. That way you get to enjoy the song, we get to enjoy the song. We'll give honest feedback at the end of the channel. Andy and Kirk have no idea what the video is. I tend to know because I'm the one that's pressing play on the video. So I do tend to know it. And today's video is a band that I have covered quite a lot on the Dave Does channel, and is something that my Patreons request quite a lot of the time. So it's going to be, I'm really intrigued to see it. And it's actually one of my Patreons on the Dave Does channel has requested that Andy and Kirk check this band out. So it has been a viewer request. Okay. So this should be interesting to do. But we'll give our honest feedback. If we don't like it, well, I obviously do like it. But for Andy and Kirk, if they don't like it, they will be quite honest about it. But we will try to be constructive in our feedback. So without further ado, let's get into the track.
Белая зимой пришла.
There we go. That is a band called Grai, and this song is "In the Arms of Mary," and they are a Russian band. To give you some context, I will give you a little bit more for my thoughts and feelings on it at the end, because obviously it's a song I've reacted to, but it's a 7-year-old, 8-year-old song video when it came out. I was going to give you a live performance, but I thought it would be better to give you a studio version so you can get to the clarity of the sound before you actually experience a live performance from them. But Kirk, do you want to kick this one off?
Yeah, it's. I was going to say, are they from Russia? Because we saw the Cyrillic alphabet at the beginning, didn't we?
Yeah.
Musically intriguing, I will say that. And it's interesting, isn't it, with the full spectrum of heavy metal, that bands from almost any country on earth can incorporate their own national identities onto the music. And often it's a successful experiment. And there's another example where it was. There's many bands doing this that represent their own folklore or their own national traditions. You've got that Scottish black metal artist Saor, S-A-O-R, I think that's how you pronounce it. He, the individual behind that, writes some intriguing music. There's a good band from Finland called Ukko, who did an album last year called Atlas. And then you've got that Hungarian avant-garde artist Vicatafalk. So there's already some really innovative names doing this type of music. So it was good to hear a Russian angle on that. I don't know what Russian angle that is, whether it's talking about Tsarist Russia or talking about the traditions of Orthodox Christianity or the superstition of the peasantry in Russia during the era of serfdom. I don't really know what it's about. I enjoyed it. The biggest challenge with music like this is how to make the guitars bite to give you that metallic experience, especially when you've got the beauty of a fluttering recorder in there and you've got like a fiddle in there or a violin. I don't know what instrument that was. So that's already powering the music, isn't it? And transporting you into certain areas and giving you really clear textures. So when you start putting chugging riffs in there, it's hard to make your presence known. And I don't think they were too successful until halfway through, where they switched to a thrash metal angle and the drums really geared up as well, didn't they? So at that point, before you get this more majestic metallic imprint on the song, I was asking the question, would I listen to that if there were no guitars in it? And the answer is yes. I really would. I enjoyed it. The vocal harmonies, it's almost like that band who were discovered in the West in the late 70s, the trio Bulgarka, who rise to prominence. The voices are angelic, aren't they? The harmonizing, the expression of emotion, the personality in each one of those female sopranos. I don't even know how you would describe it, because it's folk music, isn't it? So yeah, that's one that I'd have to analyze it at least twice more, I think, to give a true opinion. But that's what a reaction is, isn't it? Sometimes you are dumbfounded, other times you switch off because you think it's predictable, and this is more towards the dumbfounded part. I don't think it was avant-garde, don't get me wrong, there wasn't anything there that was overly challenging, but it was quite progressive, wasn't it, in its song structure as well. So lot to unpack, and I would definitely need to sit down with this band and would be willing to sit through an album as well. I think there's definitely enough imagination and creativity in there to retain my interest.
Okay, Andy?
I mean, I guess this is a sort of very typical example of what is folk metal. It's not something that I am particularly familiar with, but it's got all the elements, hasn't it? The wind instruments, the recorder, and the violin and everything else. Yes, I saw the Russian text at the beginning, but I was thinking all throughout it's sort of Scandinavian folklore and legend. I might be completely wrong on that. I don't, from what you said, Kirk, perhaps that is perhaps they're demonstrating sort of Russian history there. I honestly do not know. I mean, the beautiful vocals at the beginning, really, really like that. Then the sort of very, very simple, almost percussive guitar comes in. But as you said, Kirk, it's buried, isn't it, underneath the melodies that are driven by you know, the violin and the recorder, if that's the right term for that particular instrument. I mean, that particular format is reminds me of, you know, Theatre of Tragedy and Nightwish. You know, the guitar, although in those bands is more prominent and sort of higher in the mix, but it's basically that sort of very simple percussive almost sort of rhythm, and the song is, you know, the melody is driven by the other instruments, and even the vocals would drive a song. They're just kind of accompanying the music. But yeah, it got my head nodding. I like that particular format of the video. I think it's one of our sort of, as we just discussed before, our favourite formats. There's the storytelling element, then the band performing in a particular situation. What I did find quite strange is the girls, the vocalist and the the violin player and the flute player all had sort of almost traditional dress, whereas the guys are wearing their own merch. I just found that a little strange. You know, it should have been perhaps the guys in traditional gear as well, just to sort of complete the look of the video. It's not something I'll be exploring any further, but it was an entertaining few minutes. You know, got my head going. As I say, beautiful vocals. I love violins when they accompany songs as well. But folk metal, folk rock isn't my sort of thing.
Okay, well, I thought it's obviously I don't need to go too much detail about this song because I've obviously gone through this a lot in my history. But this was the first song I think I got asked to react to on the Dave Does channel. And it is kind of a gateway for me. So this would be the equivalent for me of you guys listening to a Doom album. So I get fully immersed in this. So I could put this on and have that going for 30 minutes and I'll be like, I'm fine with that. I'll completely just lock into it. I love folk metal. I love the instrumentation. I felt for me, the guitars were the perfect balance in that mix because I like to hear those other instruments taking the lead. I want the guitar to sit in the background like a bass guitar, rooting it down into its core rather than taking the lead forward. To give you a context though, there are other songs where the guitars have a much heavier tone. So the song that I did on the other channel, which is called Song of Dead Water, it's either the bassist or the guitarist he's got a growl death metal vocal and he does death metal vocals over that part of the song so that it balances between the two. And it's a real kind of they still keep that sort of standard tempo that they do in this. It is all in that kind of tempo, but it's a lot more chuggy, heavy riffing. This was like their earlier stages. They got heavier as they went on, but they didn't do many music videos. They've got a lot of live performance videos from Headline, and I think you lose some of the definition. But I wanted to give you kind of their earlier stuff to give you a kind of starting taste. Nowadays, they don't wear that traditional dress. It's all kind of more uniform black. It's all much darker from a stage imagery look. So they're all more uniformed across the board. But yeah, I didn't get why they, in their first music video, they've got the girls wearing some sort of dress and the guys wearing t-shirts and with a sun emblem on. It didn't quite work for me. I think I summed it up on my reaction video on the other channel, which was I watched this performance of this other song called Song of Dead Water, and I sat there and I was mesmerized by this 6-minute song. And I said, I really enjoyed it, but I felt like I wanted to go into tears. And I said, I couldn't work out why though. I felt emotionally connected enough to the song that it actually brought me to almost tears. And I didn't understand why I was feeling that way. And I said, that's the best way I could describe it. And the person that said it, he goes, you've obviously connected really well with that music personally on a personal level, that it's made you feel something like that rather than just break it down as a song graphic. And I know you guys have talked about that with Doom. Sometimes you'll talk about a track and how you connect with it. And I listen to it and I'm like, I'm like, I don't get it. I don't understand it. It doesn't connect with me. And I think this was quite one of the reasons I picked this band for you guys to check out, because this would be a band that I would connect with and listen to and feel some form of emotional connection. When I was listening to it while we were watching this video, I was kind of just vibing completely the whole way through it. Just kind of, I could just see myself, as you said on a previous video, Kirk, about walking along for a half an hour, rain coming down, and just looking at the world around you, and I could be completely in that moment, away from everything else, and connected with that song and in that space. Whereas I don't find that with a lot of the metal that we listen to, that I could ever do that. So this is a band for me that would do that. But it's interesting that you guys didn't get that level of connection, and I think that's what works with us three on the channel, is that we have such differences. But I really liked it. I would suggest, if you get a chance, check out Song of Dead Water so you can see the comparison of the heavier side of them. But yeah, that is great. And from Russia.
Right, just going back to your point about I don't know if it's this particular song or another one of theirs, which sort of almost brought you to tears. Yes, that does happen for me. Not necessarily in Doom, but sort of, well, yeah, Doom songs and sort of some of Liv Christine's material. You almost don't want to listen to it because you know what it's going to do to you, but then I put it on because I almost want to be in that moment where I'm closer to it. It's a really strange sort of situation to be in. You know, you want to listen to a song you absolutely love, but you don't want it to bring you down, for want of a better term. But then if you do take that step, when I take that step, you kind of think, well, I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
You can turn it off and whatever boring, mundane, everyday situation you're in, it lifts you again. Well, that's how it works for me. And that's the power of music, isn't it?
Yeah, what you've described there really is the textbook definition of a sensation. It's beyond logic, isn't it? You submit to it. It's like a force greater than you has taken hold of you. And if someone said, how do you describe pain? How do you describe pleasure? It's actually very difficult, isn't it? It's a feeling. And so I completely understand where you're coming from, Dave. And yeah, I've had that experience with various bands. It is rare. But again, yeah, as you said there, Andy, I'm not going to put on the Cure's 1982 album every day of the week because I know the effect it will have on me. But it's good to know that if I need to reach out and I need to have something convey that, I've got it on my shelf on CD. So yeah, completely understand why you would do that. Just one thing I would say as well, I've actually reviewed a Russian folk metal album recently from a St. Petersburg band called Zhmei Goronich. I think that's how you pronounce it. And I give it a 7 out of 10. And that was a bit more at the folk. There was almost like a carnival element to it with some really heavy deathcore and Meshuggah riffs in there. And they describe their music as brought to you from Russia. And they sing about bears, maids, communism, and vodka. So I think that gives you an idea what they're presenting, but there's some really crucial moments in that. Really gifted technical metal musicians. So our viewers, you might want to listen to that album. I can't remember what it's called, but the band is called Zhmei Goronich.
Fair enough. Well, that's a little tip there from Kirk. Now, as always, if you like this video, please do subscribe, click the bell icon, like and share, and we'll see you on another video sometime very soon. Take care.